I'm now brandishing in front of you a 21-inch, brutal-looking black knife. It is sharp, believe you me.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
It is terrifying. If someone approached me with that, I would think it was the end of my days.
It is one of the most scary things that I've ever held in my hand.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it.
Horrific.
I bought this online for £23.49, entirely legally. And I had it sent to this
all because
studio.
of the script or writing.
It has got no writing on it. If that had writing on it that said Zombie Hunter 5000, it would be illegal. Because it doesn't, it is completely legal.
So you've done nothing illegal, so you can sit in that studio opposite me with that 20-inch knife, which would kill me in seconds if you... Yeah,
kill several people.
In seconds.
It is terrifying. But it gets worse, Nick, I'm afraid, because I've heard from several police sources, in fact, this is where the story was alerted to us, that they're turning up to raids on the properties of known violent criminals. They're finding knives just like this. But because there is no writing on the knives, the police can do nothing.
Wow. What a pathetic soy boy. And by the way, the white knives are already banned in the United Kingdom. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Rudowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we have an incredible podcast available for you guys today, as we have some really incredible people here in-house and a lot of crazy news to talk about, especially when it comes to the Trump campaign, when it comes to Trump being disqualified from the ballot in Maine, when it comes to now our friend also being put on a terror watch list. What in the world is going on here? Are we going into a situation that's going to be really bad for the American public? Yep. You could bet your bottom dollar. We're going to be discussing that, plus a lot more for the next 2 hours. And make sure to share this broadcast with your friends and family members, because this conversation is going to be very interesting. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to get into some deep down the hole rabbit holes. And to have this conversation, you could also participate in it by becoming a member of LukeUnfiltered.com. Anyone who signs up on LukeUnfiltered.com will actually have the ability to call in to the show in about an hour and a half from now. You get access to a special Telegram channel. With that Telegram channel, we, of course, will be talking to members of LukeUnfiltered.com. You get to call in. You get to ask whatever questions you want. And, of course, I will be messaging you guys very soon. Another way to participate is, of course, through Super Chats, and one of the best ways to do that is through mysuperchat.com. And you guys, of course, get to send us messages. We will be responding to all of them, especially if they are on mysuperchat.com. Any Rumble rants, any Super Chats on YouTube, of course, will be read as well. But mysuperchats.com actually only takes a 3% service charge, not a 30% YouTube service charge. So definitely check that out. And joining us for this conversation is someone that has gone viral all over social media, someone that's very interesting, someone that's very fascinating, and I'm very excited to have in studio here today, and that is Gary, the numbers guy. Gary, for the people who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself?
The best of the best at what I do, quite simply, and what I do is read the Matrix's language, which is another word for God's language, which is numerology. Men lie, we all know women lie, numbers never lie.
That's a great saying there. Clint definitely agrees with that woman part, right, Clint?
Very good.
Getting me in trouble with the ladies already. Yeah, Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown, co-host Tower Gang, and co-host of thebestpoliticalshow.com at Liberty Lockpod on X. 115,000 of you over there. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Steph.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steph of We Are Change. You can find me on Instagram at Steph We Are Change.
Steph, if you can, just let's move the camera over a little bit. We moved it previously beforehand, but let's just get right into it, as the news coming from Maine is absolutely crazy, as the Secretary of State there, a leftist, hyper-partisan individual, just decided to interfere in this year's presidential 2024 election on, let's just be honest here, behalf of the Democratic Party, of the leftist mind virus, and she made sure that Donald Trump is kicked off of the ballot based off her own interpretation of alleged insurrectionist acts, which, again, Donald Trump was never found guilty of in the first place. We're also learning that she used corporate media articles, YouTube clips in order to justify her decision here, as it's pretty clear, according to the poll numbers, Donald Trump is more popular than ever. A lot of people want him to become the next president of the United States, overwhelmingly over the current guy who's in there now. And we have individuals who are allegedly protecting democracy by subverting the will of the American people. What's really going on here? I think there's a bigger agenda to sow chaos and division. I think there's a bigger agenda because the Democrats know that they're losing. I think something's up here, and it's not just someone protecting democracy, but that might be too conspiratorial. What do you guys think?
I go way darker. I think that the evidence from SCOTUS had to overturn the federal mandate. I'll leave it at that because we're still on YouTube. But the federal mandate from the Biden administration in I think it was 22, and otherwise we would have had no bodily autonomy in this country. So the Supreme Court intervened on the behalf of the American people. You now have even more perilous threats to democracy, if you will. And all under the pretext of defending democracy. And as Luke already detailed, Trump, he said he wasn't convicted. As far as I know, he hasn't even been charged with insurrection. So this is such a leap. This is such a absolute circumvention of what our founders envisioned for this country. And I think that 2024 is going to be the gnarliest year we've ever encountered.
Let me just say this, and again, we're still on YouTube.
Exactly.
When I look at what's going on, when I go back to March or April, wasn't DeSantis ahead of Trump?
Yes, his poll numbers were very favorable since there was a poor kind of congressional race that led up to a situation where Donald Trump was still telling people to take rushed experimental gene therapy, and his poll numbers weren't that good. DeSantis's numbers were better.
So let's be honest with ourselves. So after he got indicted, after he had to go to court, after all that stuff happened, all of a sudden he became the top guy again. So, I mean, maybe it's possible all this was done to prop him up. I'm just, putting it out there. You have to understand that if in 2016, if James Comey doesn't reopen the email investigation to Hillary Clinton a couple days before the election, maybe Trump doesn't get that one, either. But what you have to understand is I believe there's people out there who want Donald Trump in a position of power because it galvanizes their people. When you look at DeSantis, he might not have that many people supporting them, but he definitely doesn't have as many haters. So when you look at Donald Trump, maybe the Democrats actually want him to be the nominee because they can galvanize all the people against them. I don't want to go too far because, again, we're still on YouTube.
No, but that was the exact situation that unfolded as we found out through the Hillary Clinton emails with her saying we need him to be, I forgot the exact phrase.
Nominee.
Not just a nominee, but this kind of Joker-like character. What was the exact phrasing there? Someone could probably tell me in the comment section, saying we essentially need him to be the nominee because if he becomes the nominee, we are definitely going to beat him. Right. And of course, Hillary Clinton was definitely wrong on that, thankfully, even though the race was very, very close. But when you do kind of look at this situation with Donald Trump, automatically my kind of conspiracy mind goes off. And what you just said is something that I actually been expressing for a couple of weeks now, saying, Donald Trump was down and out. His poll numbers were not good. He was just his base was really not happy with him, especially when it came to him pandering to Big Pharma. He came in out of nowhere, and now he's more popular than ever. And how can you not defend him against these huge, over-egregious, democratically biased politicians who are subverting the will of the people, who are breaking the Constitution, who are breaking the rule of law, and going out of their way to be as bad as they can to him? How can you not defend him in this situation?
But if this is happening, it's actually propping him up.
It is.
How many people who are independents are going to be like, listen, I don't like Trump, but this is an American. This is not how it's supposed to go. So the independents are going to slide more to the Republican side because of this type of nonsense. And again, I want to use stronger words, but I won't. Yes. This is complete and utter garbage.
Yeah.
Okay, and what we need to.
Do you think they want him to win though?
I think they 100% want him to win.
Oh, interesting.
I think they 100. If they didn't want him to win, there wouldn't have been indictments. If they didn't want him to win, they wouldn't have been doing all this stuff. It props him up. Let's go back to 216 for 1 second. Who told James Comey to reopen the email investigation? Because you know damn well James Comey didn't do that by himself.
Probably Obama.
Oh, there you go. Now, let's go down that rabbit hole. Why would Obama tell James Comey to open the email? Because they're both Democrats. Why would he do that?
I don't know.
Well, how about this? If Clinton won, then she owns the White House. She owns the deep state. She owns the DNC. But with Clinton losing, no one owns the White House anymore. Mm-hmm. But guess who owns the Democratic Party? Who got shipped out as soon as the Hillary Clinton lost? All her people in the Democratic Party got shipped off, and then Obama started filling the ranks. So when Trump took power, all of a sudden Obama, by the way, he didn't leave Washington, D.C. He's the only former president who still lives in D.C. I wonder what he's doing. He's probably up to no good.
Yeah, it's not like he said on national television that he wishes he would come back to a secret third term where he was able to make all the decisions without actually being the public face of those decisions. It's not like he said anything like that for everyone to, of course, listen to and hear to. And Little Mac 84 on YouTube has the comment here and the answer to the question that I was asking everyone, and that, of course, is a Pied Piper. Hillary Clinton's email showed that they wanted Trump to be the Pied Piper. They wanted him to be the lead front runner. They made him the lead front runner, and essentially he was able to defeat them. And there was a lot of drama between Hillary and Obama because if you look at that original race, and if you look at the Bilderberg meeting specifically that was happening in Chantilly, Virginia, I was there with Alex Jones on the ground covering all of it. We did a 12-hour live stream documenting everything. There was a very strange coincidence where Obama and Clinton went missing for the exact same time.
Shocking.
Where they were supposed to be campaigning for the presidency, and then literally the press corps that was on Obama's jet was told he's going to be here, he's going to be on the jet. They closed up the jet. They flew the press corps out without Obama on there, and then Obama was missing for like 48 hours. And of course, the more likely scenario was that they were at Bilderberg, that they were making a lot of key decisions. And according to some kind of scuttlebutt that I personally heard, and some of the inside baseball that I heard from my sources, there was a larger decision to say, okay, this is going to be Obama's term. Then Hillary's going to get it afterwards, and then Hillary. Again, she had what was the Jacob Javits Center lined with celebratory balloons to represent the glass ceiling that they were going to be like. They were preparing for a full all-out victory. And when you see Podesta's face, when you see Hillary Clinton's campaign on the night of the election, they were shocked. They were surprised. Yeah. And according to some sources too, Donald Trump was shocked and surprised himself as well.
No, listen. I met Donald Trump in person for the first time October 27, 2016. I was VIP at his Cleveland events. That's where I moved from, Cleveland, Ohio. And when he was going around, signing the autographs and everything, he actually spent like 30, 45 seconds with me. He didn't talk to anyone else. He talked to me. I know his personal assistants and everything. And I told him, Mr. President, you're going to be the next president. And he looked at me like he was shocked. And I told him because of numerology and astrology. If you guys don't know who I am, that's what I do. And he looked absolutely shocked, but worked out, didn't it?
Can you break down why you knew?
I can give you one example. In 2016, that's the year of the monkey, okay? And again, this is Chinese astrology. We're not, there's 12 different signs. One of them happens to be a monkey. And in monkey years, it's kind of known as the year of the comeback. So I'll give you an example. Do you guys remember, well, maybe you don't remember, but you guys heard of the Miracle on Ice in 1980 when the little high school Americans beat the Russians?
Yep.
That was considered the biggest upset in world history. That happened 1980, the year of the monkey. Do you guys remember when the Yankees blew a 3-0 lead against the Boston Red Sox in 2004? Mm-hmm. Again, that's another monkey year. And the Cleveland Cavaliers came back from 3-1 down to beat my boys, the Golden State Warriors. By the way, I predicted that one. And that was the biggest comeback in NBA history, and that was 2016. So every monkey year, you have big comebacks. So it kind of looked like, okay, Trump's going to pull the biggest political upset in, American history. And I went on Dr. Savage Michael Savage's show, and I actually said it that day that Donald Trump's going to win this thing. And I also said they would steal the election from him in 2020 because Obama didn't need him anymore.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people saying there's no way Trump could win. The poll numbers showed it. The New York Times and all the other corporate media outlets, 99% chance Hillary Clinton's going to be the next president of the United States. But there was a few online commentators, individuals like Mike Cernovich, that actually said, no, actually he's probably going to win. And it shocked and it surprised a lot of different
That was
individuals.
one of the best nights I remember because the liberal tears, because at first it was like, woo, we got this. We got, all of a sudden, a little concern. All of a sudden after that, they're like this. And then you actually saw these people crying.
Yeah.
And when I saw those liberals crying, that put such a smile on my face. I'm like, you pieces of garbage. This is exactly what you deserve. But they took it away from us in 2020 under nefarious, in my opinion, but we won't go into it.
Yeah, I was in Times Square when the decision came in that he lost one of the key battleground states, when Hillary lost one of the key battleground states, and you could hear a pin drop in the middle of Times Square. There was about 5 Trump supporters in New York City watching them. I was standing next to them because they're like, "Hey, look, hey," I was like, "Hey, what's going on here? What are the results?" And then we saw the numbers in Times Square just come on in. And then Hillary lost another key battleground state, and then you just saw people like silent, weeping, crying. These 5 guys were like, "Yeah!" And then everyone's just giving them like the dead stare. And it was such an extremely telling moment because it was a changing of the guard. It was something big happened, and a lot of people realized it, and you saw a lot of people cry.
I was at his inauguration, man. That was like one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
The biggest inauguration ever.
I was also there at January 6th. I was VIP at his last speech as president. And then, I heard all the rumors that, something's gathering. And, again, I'm going to try and make this clean as hell. I saw a whole bunch of people with flags. Nothing else but flags trying to do something. And at that point, I'm like, man, this is set up. This is 100. I called my people. I'm like, yo, don't do this. Get out of here. I went straight to lunch with Trump's personal assistant and a couple of my students in GG33. We went straight to lunch. We're watching this. And unfortunately, some of my guys got caught up. Unfortunately, they did.
I have a lot of follow-up questions, but we'll save that for a Rumble segment. But I did want to steelman the counter argument to Trump being put up. I mean, it's clear everything you guys have said is true. He was put up. He was a Pied Piper, but they put him up because they thought he was easily beatable. Hillary wouldn't have put him up if she thought that he was actually going to win. That's my opinion. And to prove that case, I was on the last episode of Union of the Unwanted with Sam Tripoli and all these people, and I was the only one taking this side of the argument. So I'm accustomed to being the odd man out on this topic. But when you look at the Steele dossier that's created before he's even president, if you look at the false affidavits from the FBI that are allowing for his campaign to be spied on, an American presidential candidate being spied on by the FBI based off of concocted information prior to the election, those 2 issues paired with the fact that he was impeached twice, he was undermined every step of the way, it tells me that while he was their preferred competitor, he was not actually supposed to win, as you say he's supposed to win in 2024.
There's a difference between Team Obama and Team Clinton, though.
Agreed.
So let's state facts. When Trump was running against in 2015, when it started against the Republican primary, with 17 other Republicans, much stronger field than it is this year, by the way. They called Ted Cruz was there, Marco Rubio was there, little Marco,
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul. This is the biggest Republican group ever. Obama only mentioned one person by name, Donald Trump. He didn't mention Rubio. He didn't mention Ted Cruz. And let me tell you something. If you're Obama and half the world, half the Americans hate your guts, and you start talking, junk about Trump, well, guess what? Your haters are going straight to him. People on Twitter, if you guys don't understand how this works, watch this. If you have a big account, if you're a big person on Twitter and you have haters, start subtweeting someone, start doing something, and then your haters will go straight to him. That's how this works. So yes, you could say Clinton thought that.
Right.
But Clinton didn't think that James Comey was going to reopen that email investigation either. Obama runs this shop. Obama.
So it was undermined by the Obama.
100%. Because when he still owns the deep state, that's why he's still all over Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So here's the point. When he was actually running the deep state, he was kneecapping Trump every single time. Impeachment after impeachment. He was kneecapping his presidency. And he basically took the gamble that it's better for me to deal with Trump than for me to have Clinton in power, because if Clinton's in power, Obama has no power.
Yeah,
because she would purge all his.
And if you look at the Biden administration, it essentially is a continuation of the Obama administration in almost every sense of the way.
Until April 24th of this year. I personally believe that Biden was Obama's puppet until that day.
Why?
And Susan Rice left the Biden administration on the 24th of April.
Okay.
And that was his handler.
Yeah, his
So
surrogate.
Susan Rice was going from Obama's mansion every single day, going to the White House. And Secret Service people have told me this. Now, the White House visitor logs, curiously enough, are sealed now. They were open under every other president, including Obama, but they're sealed now. I wonder why. Maybe they didn't want people to explain why Susan Rice is going to the White House every single day. So she was over there giving him his marching orders. And then I believe Obama, he had dinner with the Bidens at least once a week at the White House. And he basically told Biden, you got to step down. And Biden said no. And at that point, when he said no, Susan Rice is out. And then you start seeing people go after Hunter. Then you start seeing all this stuff start going out. So obviously they broke ranks. Who did Biden run to? Only one person to run to: the Clintons. And now you see the Clintons really backing Joe Biden when they didn't do this stuff in 2020. They didn't do this. Now they're completely backing him because I believe Kamala Harris, that's the Clintons' person in the White House. That's what I believe. So he went to her, and basically you start seeing a lot of bad press about Obama coming out about 2 months ago that he's gay and all that. I don't know anything about that, but that's what the press came out. The Clintons still have a lot of power in the press. Even though Obama owns the Justice Department, Obama owns the Treasury, Obama owns the deep state, well, the Clintons still have that.
What's the play? Is Hillary trying to get in the mix?
I think that her play is to basically have Joe Biden reelected. I think that's her play.
And
then
use him as their puppet?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Because he had to switch sides. Because you have to understand, if you're going to have a puppet president, you want him to be weak.
Yeah.
You want a puppet president to be weak.
Yeah.
And you can't get any weaker unless you want to dig up Jimmy Carter. You can't get any weaker than this piece of garbage in the White House right now.
Yeah, this is why I think John Fetterman might actually be a serious contender for the presidency. And I'm not joking.
For a Democrat, 100%.
I literally made BidenFetterman.com. I made T-shirts for it. I made a campaign for it. It's real. BidenFetterman.com if you haven't checked it out. But what you say does kind of add up, because there is kind of a Democratic kind of civil war that we do see kind of underway here, and it does explain a lot of the more perplexing kind of corporate media attacks that are happening on Joe Biden.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of very prominent Democratic establishment figures saying, okay, Joe, come on, let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yep.
Here's Hunter Biden. Hey, we're going to punish your child. Hey, we're going to make sure he goes to jail.
Yep.
And then when you look at this kind of scenario and the way it's unfolding, it does seem like it's a power play within a power play, and that's usually how things are done, especially within the Bilderberg group, especially within upper echelons of secret societies. It's usually power struggles internally, not just externally. It's not just an organized group going after everyone, even though they do understand the rules of the game, even though they make sure that the game is never compromised. But within that game, there's games and other games being played.
This is the way I look at it. I look at the Clintons, Obamas. I look at the Obamas as Rothschild, and I look at the Clintons as Rockefeller. That's what I look at. And you have to understand, all of these 13 Illuminati bloodline families, they're pretty much gangsters, okay? And they have no love for each other. But if anyone threatens them as a whole, they come together like this.
Yeah.
That's what people have to understand, man. You know, they're like a family who hates each other, but if anyone threatens, what they have, they're going to come together very quickly.
It's like the mafia kind of coming together, and that's essentially how it's run, but also on bigger levels. So everyone always points to the Italian mafia, but the Italian mafia was sacrificed. It's nothing compared to the real mafias out there.
Listen, I don't want to say much. I know people who just ran up on Kanye West and forced him to make an apology. That's the real mafia.
I'm not saying nothing.
I didn't say anything.
Rumble.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say a word.
We have a super chat by. We're gonna continue that conversation on Rumble.
I think that was clean, though.
Yeah, that was clean. You handled it.
And we have a super chat by Juan Castal saying, "Will the Supreme Court step in on these states?" Well, it's going to be interesting because it's going to be like whack-a-mole, and what just happened in Colorado, I think, is indicative of what is going to be happening. But I think there's going to be other states that are also going to be pulling out the rug last minute, and these legal challenges might not come in time to the point where Donald Trump could be affected, could not be on the ballot, could be, of course, kicked out of the primaries, and then there could be a lot of...
Can't they write him in? Can't they write him in?
I believe they can, and the Republican GOP in Colorado said that they'll move towards a system where he could still be included in the ballot, even though that the Supreme Court kind of kicked him out. But that ruling was just overturned as well. Will this ruling in Maine be overturned? I don't know. But when we look more at the person that called this shot, you could see someone who is very biased. It is Democrat Sheena Bellows, and she's the one essentially that unilaterally made this decision. And there's photos of her hanging out with Joe Biden, hanging out with, of course, with Obama, and of course cheerleading of a lot of the kind of far leftist policies that have led us towards a situation where literally these people think that they're protecting democracy, and in reality, they're doing the opposite of that. We actually have a sound clip from this woman as well, describing some of her philosophies that we're going to play now.
The right to vote is fundamental to everything else that we care about. Our democracy depends on every American citizen being able to participate and exercise the right to vote, to hold those in power accountable for decisions that are made, and to make sure that our government is representing the will of the people.
Yeah, Sheena, you're not doing that by taking off Donald Trump from the ballot, as of course a lot of people are also pointing to her wearing a Democracy Defender T-shirt, which is crazy. Exactly,
everything's backwards.
Yeah.
It's like, they're gonna say they're gonna do something noble, and it's a dark act. Everything is opposite with these people.
And everything they're doing, they accuse their opposition of. James Lindsay calls it the iron law of projection. It drives me crazy. But
it's 1984. Everything is absolutely backwards. War is peace. Yep. It's absolute newspeak, and this is how they kind of bring in and sew in a lot of this chaos with this confusion. Because if they're able to confuse a lot of people, they're able to say, "I'm defending democracy by destroying your ability to vote for who you want." People are like, "Wait, what?" And in that kind of confusion, they are able to swoop in and gain more power and control for themselves.
Well, what they mean by we want everyone to be able to vote, we want everyone to be able to vote, but only for one person.
Exactly.
And that's really the game. It's not when they talk. They'll even say our democracy, but when they say our, they don't mean us in this room. They mean their people, and I think that their people is also increasing exponentially, as you've seen with the migration crisis in Europe that's now hit domestically, and it just seems like it's totally out of control at this point.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys where you see this going, because the road we're on, the train, the locomotive that has been started, there's no going back from. No. And the political pendulum that is kind of swinging back and forth violently is affecting more and more people, to the point where people on the left and right are absolutely radicalized. I believe that a lot of this is being done on purpose. I believe there's a lot of chaos. I believe there's a lot of division. I believe a lot of this is done deliberately in order to destroy the American people, in order to destroy this country. But there are a lot of interesting people making a stand here, as of course even prominent Democrats in Colorado were like, "Hey, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely insane." CNN just a couple hours ago released this statement on national television in response to this, essentially heavily criticizing this decision by the Secretary of State of Maine.
Were the processes, were these hearings fair? Did they comport with due process? And I think there's a question there with regard to what Maine did, because if you look at the hearing, and she details this in the ruling, they heard from one fact witness, a law professor. She based her ruling on a lot of documents, but also YouTube clips, news reports, things that would never pass the bar in normal court. She's not a lawyer, by the way. It's a smartly written decision, clearly consulted with lawyers, but this is an unelected. She's chosen by the state legislature.
She's elected by the
state legislature. Chosen, elected by the legislature, but not democratically elected. Not a knock. That's just the way it's set up in Maine. And this hearing, look, it doesn't have to be a criminal trial. We don't have to have all the protections. But I think the argument you'll hear from opponents is, one, not up to the states to do this. This is why we have all different decisions from all different states. And two, the procedures were not up to snuff.
CNN's like, but please, there has to be some kind of justification. And then they were just blown out of the water with this legal expert saying, no, they're using YouTube clips in order to justify taking off the lead political opposition member from the ballot, which is absolutely crazy. How is this going to be unfolding from here? Because I see more states doing this. I see more legal challenges. I see this happening up until the point where the ballots are supposed to be cast and its state says, well, you know what? No, you just can't vote for this guy and he's ineligible because we decided so. How is this going to get fixed? How is this going to get corrected? People are saying, oh, it's just going to be corrected automatically. Don't worry about it. I am worried about it.
Let me ask you something. Is Trump has a shot to win Maine anyway?
No.
Okay.
According to some legal analysts, if RFK Jr. does run, it is going to split the state up, and there is a possibility that he could maybe potentially win.
I mean, I guess I could make a three-pointer in NBA too. It's possible, but it's not likely. Listen, this is what I'm trying to tell you, man. I don't think Colorado goes Republican too often. I could be mistaken. Maybe it did in the past,
it used to, but not
anymore. All those people from California migrating, you know, all the people from California are trying to escape the hell they voted for, and now they're trying
They gotta go recreate.
Of course, somewhere else. So honestly, maybe I'm in the minority. I don't think this is a big loss. He's not going to win those places. Let him take off the California. Take him off the ballot too. New York City.
But it's the Republican primary that does matter, because when he goes up against Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, if people only get to vote Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and not Donald Trump,
no one's voting for Nikki Haley. Come on now.
Well, the BlackRock is, State Street is, and all the other corporations support it, and the military-industrial complex.
They're funding. They're funding. They're not actually.
Hey, Moloch is going to be voting for Hillary. Okay.
The media absolutely prefers Nikki Haley, which just goes to show once again that they're in league with the devil. But the point I wanted to make was that Kaneko the Great actually reported this about an hour ago, that there's a video floating around of her talking about the ACLU and the SPLC working in tandem with her to assist. So as I forget which of you said it, but it's clear that I think it was Luke that said that it's clear that she was working with attorneys in terms of drafting her explanation, because she is not an attorney herself. That's the answer. ACLU, SPLC working in tandem. You know that they're getting their marching orders from some other power broker. Could be the Obamas, who knows. But this is a high level operation to remove Trump, and I think it's much more serious. Even though these are in blue states, that's not really what it's about. It's about having a precedent which allows for a rogue, Secretary of State within one of these swing states or two of these swing states.
A fat bureaucratic nanny coming in and saying no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The precedent is very important here, because let's think about the precedent it sets for Joe Biden. Because let's say he's out of office, what's going to stop people from going after him? See, that's the real precedent that these people got to start working out. You went after our guy. Oh, we're going to start going after you, and now we start devolving into a banana republic.
Exactly, and it's a tit for tat, and everyone escalates and keeps escalating from here, because they believe if the next guy gets in, they're going to put me in jail. And the Democrats open up this door by putting a lot of Republicans and Donald Trump supporters in jail.
I'm going to say this. I believe that Joe Biden's a criminal. I believe he's running a criminal enterprise, but I would not put him in jail, because the damage of putting a U.S. president in jail would be so unprecedented that no one would believe in the system anymore. I mean, listen, I remember.
Should you believe in a system that allows for a criminal enterprise to be running the country?
Listen,
because I think you should know.
Okay, so I'll put it like this. I believe America is the best country in the world.
Love America.
Do we agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if America is the best country in the world, we have to accept that it's going to have flaws. But if you compare this to every other country in the world, I mean, Russia is basically a mob dictatorship. Then you go over there, these other countries, they're basically loony leftists. I'm going to tell you, I will put up with the faults in this country, knowing this has always been a criminal enterprise. Yeah. Okay, this has never stopped. The military-industrial, Eisenhower told us about that. He said, watch the military-industrial complex. I believe the last real president in U.S. history was John F. Kennedy. You know, and guess what? If I was living back in the 60s, I'd be a Kennedy Democrat. I would definitely be. That's how much the pendulum has swung this way, that a guy like Elon Musk, who was a liberal, and by every stretch of the imagination, they wanted basic income, all that stuff. He's a liberal, but the pendulum swung so far this way, now he looks like a somewhat conservative. So what people have to understand is when people get older, they get wiser. And most people, I mean, there's a slim majority, but most people, when they're liberal, when they're young, they get more conservative as they get older. Just people get wiser with age. That's why these caravans coming from Latin America are so important for the Democrats, because a lot of people who voted for Obama when they were kids in 2008 and 2012, now they're all Trump. Because they grew up. But the Democrats have to replace those voters. Right. And that's why these caravans keep coming in, because they need a new voter base. They're going to sell. They only care about Black Lives Matter or anything like that once every election year. When are the people in the African American community going to wake up and understand these people only care about you once every 4 years? They don't give a damn. Same thing about women. You think these people care about you? They care nothing about you. They want your vote. And that's why people say, well, presidents are selected. Yeah, okay, sure. But if voting didn't matter, why are they going through all this trouble? If voting didn't matter, why are they going through us? This is what I believe. I believe if Trump wins a landslide, even if they try to cheat, they can't take it away from him. But if it's close, anything's possible.
Absolutely. And it's not just that they don't care about them. It's also specifically that I believe they hate them. Because if you look at every single policy that they kind of implement for, whether it's BLM or for women, it is policies that absolutely screw them over in so many backwards, underhanded ways that it's pretty obvious for the people paying attention. A lot of people don't pay attention. A lot of people have their hand in the sand. But when you're paying attention, every single action, every single move, all these, even all these equity, diversity efforts, all of it, of what it's doing is essentially placating, making people lazy, hurting them in the long run in such a way where they have to be dependent on the state, that they become fat, they become stupid. Every single thing that the Democratic Party and also the establishment and the Republicans that also play along with it and pretend to be against
rhinos.
It. Exactly. Everything that they do adds up towards a kind of dehumanist depopulation agenda that is hurting people in so many different ways. And I think they wrap us up in this kind of elections do matter, voting does matter, but I think what really matters is individuals taking their lives into their own hands and understanding that a lot of what we're seeing in American politics is just a game, and that game includes us being the pawns, us being played up against each other, and the second we understand that it's all a game, it loses a lot of its power and influence on all of us.
Of course, and I'll double down on what he said. He said there hasn't been an American president since JFK. I don't think there's been an American president since Teddy Roosevelt. Because Woodrow Wilson comes in.
I'm going to say Thomas Jefferson, just to outdo all of you guys.
Yeah, keep going. But yeah, because Woodrow Wilson basically sold off our country and our future and our entire system by the creation of the Federal Reserve. And I think ever since then, you've basically seen power brokers that don't have allegiance to the American people or to our country. And yeah, when you guys talk about these voting blocks, you're seeing black women in Chicago that are going to city council meetings and saying, how dare you allow for all this cheap labor to come in from Latin America, and it's destroying our communities. I mean, these people are waking up. It's just like at the end of the day, when it gets to the ballot box, I still think they're going to all hit D.
They ain't waking up fast enough, brother. No, they ain't waking up fast enough. Not. And let's not forget, listen, in the 1960s, when they started breaking up the family with feminism, now we see the results of this. It's not just women who are voting mainly for Democrats. You have a lot of men who are raised by single mothers who are voting for Democrats too.
Specifically low T men, as there's a biological war against them and they want more government and want to be dependent on government, just like the guy in the beginning of this video in the United Kingdom complaining about sharp objects.
I mean, what is the future for the UK? Like,
there is no future.
I mean, cars.
It's a failed state, man. The UK is a failed state. Listen, if you think America's bad, go to the UK for a couple of days. You'll run back and think this is paradise. Yeah. They literally have a police state going. I feel safer in Russia than I would the UK. I'm going to make that clear again. Safer in Russia. They don't have cameras everywhere like they do in UK.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. And again, when you look at what's going on in the UK, they banned all guns. There's no guns there. No one has a gun. Guess what? These people are just stabbing each other.
Bro.
So you take away the guns, they start stabbing. What are you going to do? Start banning knives now? That's what they're trying to do, right?
Then hammers, and then cars, and then any kind of basic freedom and liberty, as of course the nanny state needs to protect you at all costs. I was in the United Kingdom a few times in my life, and every single time there's always this kind of dark, demonic kind of low vibrational energy of everywhere you're going, you're being watched. Everywhere you're going, you're being tracked, to the point where local police literally bust down your door. You don't have the First Amendment in that country because you accidentally misgendered someone, because you actually represented an idea that the state didn't like. I met someone, I was just interviewing random people on the street. I met a guy that was literally thrown in jail and to court because he accidentally misgendered someone. That's the type of life that they want you living. And to bring this back to the conversation, specifically to talk about immigration more, because there's a lot to talk about here domestically inside of the United States. I traveled almost the entire world, and I agree with you. There's no better place than the United States, especially when it comes to the First Amendment. The Second Amendment is flawed in many different ways, but when it comes to life, when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to personal liberties and freedoms, there's no other place like it. And I think this is why the ideas of America are under attack. And I think one of the biggest attack vectors right now is through immigration, as of course we have this New York Post article that is detailing how the Biden administration is now threatening lawsuits against Texas if they dare to arrest or deport migrants. Yes, Joe Biden, the Biden administration is threatening legal action against Texas for trying to enforce their own borders. This is, in my opinion, a criminal action. There is a population replacement agenda. It is happening right in front of us. Elon Musk just tweeted this a couple of moments ago, saying, to give you a sense of immense and growing size of illegal immigration, highlighting a chart of American births versus illegal immigrants. And guess what? There's more people coming into this country illegally than Americans being born. And those are the official numbers. The unofficial numbers, probably way more higher than what we could expect them to be, as of course this larger population replacement program is real. It's here. It's happening. And we have a super chat that's actually about this too. We have one from Crash Bandit who says, a little off topic, well, not now, quote, have you guys read the UN migration in the 2030 agenda? Like Jones said, they put what they are doing in their own papers. Yes, a lot of this has been detailed in documents, in UN official dossiers, specifically detailing, yes, get more people, replace the local population, import the third world, and essentially destroy America from inside.
1962 Immigration Act, my friend.
Exactly.
It's been moving on. They've had this agenda since the 60s. And what people have to understand is this is not a 10 years, 20 years. This is generational. The people at the very top, they have a game plan and they wait for decades. The person who started it might not even be alive when it's fulfilled. That's how these people play. They always play the long game.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the CCP is known for, is having 100-year or millennia-long plans.
2049, brother.
Yeah, but I actually wanted to go back to a different part about the UK real quick, because I had Lord Miles on Tower Gang, and Lord Miles is this wild dude who went to Afghanistan, ended up getting kidnapped by the Taliban.
I was supposed to go with him on a trip.
I'm glad you did,
and I luckily didn't. I didn't get kidnapped like he did.
But he spent months.
Well, he got kidnapped.
He got kidnapped in Afghanistan by the Taliban.
4 months.
This is Lord Miles. He does a lot of really crazy stuff. He does a lot of hazard travel vlogging.
He went there after the U.S. Left?
He went there, I believe, during the fall of Afghanistan.
Yes.
And it literally
when we were leaving, he was like, I got to go. He also wanted to go to Ukraine. But anyways, real quick. So this is what's so wild about it. I have him on Tower Gang. I say, hey, man, I'm so glad you survived. And he's like, bro, the Taliban's great. I was thinking I was gonna die when I was in London. he's like London is worse than being kidnapped by the Taliban, and he didn't seem like he was kidding, which is just so wild to me. But yeah, so I think.
And by the way, to add to this point with immigration, he was just denied his visa to the United States, so he's not allowed to come into the United States. He's not allowed to come here and do podcasts and do shows. But if you walk through the southern border, I told him, like, dude, you should probably go through the southern border, document it all.
You know he's going to do it.
But
I've already told him he's got to do this show. He's gonna be in here eventually. But I just think that's
pay a smuggler to get him in.
yeah. Oh, you don't even need to. Like just walk. But yeah, I think that's our future. I really do. I think that what we're seeing in the UK in terms of speech suppression and censorship and spying apparatus, all this stuff, it is all a testing ground as well as Canada, which is now floating.
That's not even a country anymore.
UBI, I know it's not really a country.
we support the invasion of Canada here on this channel.
I've been saying for 10 years it's time to annex Toronto and Vancouver. Those are way too big to be Canadian cities.
Exactly.
They can keep Alberta, but we need to take the big stuff. We can't hey, Montreal, I'm coming for your liberation too.
we can't have an NBA
They can
team
keep
in
Vancouver.
Canada.
Vancouver's a crap hole, though. I don't want Vancouver.
It's a big enough city.
It's a Chinese city filled with a bunch of crackheads all
you
over
gotta
the
get
place.
the CPB out of there. It's not much worse than Seattle, bro. It's not much worse than Seattle.
I want Manitoba. I want Montreal. Toronto, the people are weird, but Montreal, the people are cool. I like the people in Montreal. But that's just my personal preference. Since we're totally a non-interventionist channel, except for Canada that's
right.
asking for it. Sorry,
Well,
go ahead. I sidetracked.
No,
you.
I was just going to say, Canada and California are really the testing grounds. You see UBI, reparations, all this stuff, the climate lockdown stuff, carbon emissions, all that. It is all a testing ground that they're trying to roll out across the broader United States. And this is why I've been so concerned about Gavin Newsom, is that he is their guy. I don't know which camp, if it's the Obama Clinton camp, but he is
Obama.
Okay. He is their guy. So I think that's the likely replacement. This is why I disagree that they want to see Trump win, even though you're absolutely right that he galvanizes the opposition and he absolutely puts money in the coffers of the media establishment, which is dying as we speak. So there are benefits, and I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong. I'm just saying I think that they want Gavin.
I still think it's going to be Michelle Obama, whatever you want to call Big whatever, and
Big Mike.
You can say that here. Okay, Big Mike. And we're on YouTube. I'll try to be very, very clean here. I think it's going to be Big Mike and Gavin Newsom on the Democratic ticket.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I think that's a fair
Michael
prediction.
Malice believes it's going to be Hillary. He recently came out and said that Hillary might get in there, might replace that.
Obama would never allow that.
Yeah.
And I still believe Obama's is the main power player within American politics. I mean, you obviously got the Rothschilds and everything else, but he's the main guy over here. I mean, listen, the stuff that Obama has pulled off, this is a guy who likes the spotlight. This is a guy who wants to be on camera. When Bill Clinton left the White House, he was talking about doing a TV show. Obama, think about this guy. He loves the spotlight, and he disappeared for 4 years. He was quiet. He didn't say anything. Do you understand what type of discipline that takes? Yeah. He wanted to be at the spotlight. So right now, instead of being the guy who's being puppeteered, he's the puppeteer.
Well, and he's also, even though he's out of the spotlight, he is producing stuff on Netflix like Leave the World Behind, which is talking about a potential civil war coming up. So, and I know, for the Tim Pool audience that's watching, get your shot glasses out because we're going to drink a lot. Luke was asking,
someone just posted that Tim must be going crazy that the Civil War is trending and he's on vacation. And I just left the snickering emoji in response.
It's the
to that.
1 week a year he takes off, and it's like it's
he
popping.
never takes vacations. He's literally like one of the most hardworking people I'm ever around.
Well-deserved vacation.
Absolutely. No, I keep telling him. I've been telling him for years, like, dude, you got to take a break. You got to relax. You got to take care of yourself. He's finally doing it now. And then like the craziest news stories
listen,
broke.
Tigers like to go hard. Whether it be you, Andrew Tate, or Tim, they like to go hard. And quite frankly, they are not cowards.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of people out here are cowards. I'm not a big fan of Tate's, but at least I know they're not cowards.
Yeah. Well, then we need all the 1986 people to rise up. Please.
Yeah, because these kids born in 2000, we got a different breed here. Let me explain something to you. In numerology, 1 is male energy. 2 is female energy. Mm-hmm. So what happened is everyone in the 1900s who's born here, you have a 1 in your birthday. So you have some male energy. The kids born in 2000, and they don't got no 1s. They got 2. So one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen in my life is dragons. Dragons are usually the tough guys. They're just people who are really, really honorable and tough. And we go from people like Steven Seagal, who's a 64 dragon, and now we have people like 2008 in Ross. I'm like, whew. That's such a drop off, guys. But here's what I'm trying to tell you: these kids who are growing up now. And by the way, I'm not crazy enough. I know every generation thinks the generation after them is lazy and garbage. I get all that, but
they're
this
usually
is real.
right.
This is real though, because the men and the women now have two energy. That is beta energy. That's why B is the second letter, and you have beta and bitch. So all of that stuff kind of works out. Obama's voting base.
His name's Barack for a reason.
There you go, brother.
Barack Obama.
We have some super chats here. One from Based Joe saying, just remember the sale of Twitter came after the midterms. X will play a huge role this time around if it stays free of 3-letter government STDs.
True.
We have another one from the redheaded libertarian saying the government has the responsibility to protect the states from invasion. Art 4, Section 4. However, if the government fails to do so, the responsibility fails to the states and individuals under 10A.
Yep, she's absolutely right. And this is what's so infuriating is that once again you have the federal government that's intervening in state business. This is Texas's absolute right to defend their territorial integrity. Whatever you believe about immigration policy broadly, Texas under 10th Amendment has an absolute right to defend itself. So I think this is totally wrong. I think that the courts ought to rule against the feds and in favor of Texas. But what's interesting is that there is a Texas nationalist movement, which is a secessionary movement, and the GOP of Texas is actually kicking their ballot initiative off of the upcoming election, where they wanted to actually have a referendum from the people of Texas to decide if they want to peacefully secede. Wild times happening.
Austin ain't never going to go for that. Austin's probably one of the most liberal cities in America, even though it's in Texas. Those California people keep moving over there, and it's going to go from blue to purple to how this works. I personally think right here is utopia.
Yes, absolutely.
And Miami is utopia. Florida is utopia because people down here mind their own business. People, like a lot of fake people, clout chasers, cool, we get all that. But at least people here mind their own business. If you go to anyone else, people are like, well, how'd you get that? How do you have that McLaren? How do you have that Lambo? Oh, you must have stole it from somebody. That's the mindset these people have, because these people are losers. and when losers basically look at stuff and they're like, well, wait a second, I can't do that, which means, they need to cope. They need to cope within their minds. And they can't say, I'm not working hard enough. I'm not doing what I have to. Oh, they stole it. That's it. That's how these people think.
Yeah, well, you see so many nice cars. If you were to ask everybody how they got them, that's all you'd spend your time doing.
I'm in a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or something at least a couple of times, So it really doesn't matter. But let me say this about the minorities who are listening to this or who are going to be watching these clips. In America, you basically have 1.6, 1.7 million black millionaires. I want to repeat that. 1.6, 1.8 black millionaires in America. If you go outside of America, there's less than 10,000 black millionaires in the world. I'm going to ask you guys again. How can you say this is a white supremacist nation if this is the only place in the world where black people actually have money? Yes, there's a couple billionaires in Africa. You'll have a couple over here. But here, you actually have a strong black middle class. As a matter of fact, the black middle class in America has more GDP than Canada.
Wow.
Facts. Or if it's not, it's right around there. So people really need to start challenging what these people are telling you, because I got to tell you, there's all the immigrants who come to this country, and there's a lot of Cubans here. They hate communism. All of them have nothing but bad things to say about Fidel Castro. Every single one of them. I have never met an immigrant who came to America and said, yo, go Biden, go socialist, go communist. Not one time.
Right.
Because it's only the white people who've been raised in this country to be yuppies and stuff like that, who believe everything, they're entitled to everything, who actually believe in communism.
Yeah.
Who believes in socialism.
We'll definitely discuss more race and statistics on Rumble.
I'm sorry. I'm trying, man.
We're totally fine.
Real quick.
The point you bring up is absolutely correct here. I travel the world. The world is racist as hell.
Yes.
And I'll get into it on Rumble with some of the experiences that I have. But trust me, here the United States represents something completely different. Miami, I love this place because I also came from communism. I was born into communism.
Poland.
I resonate with all these Cubans here who are like, screw the commies. We hate the commies. And I'm like, these are my people. I really love it here. I love the vibe. I love the First Amendment. I love the Second Amendment. I love the low tax rate comparatively in Europe. and truly one of the best places in the world. We're full though, so if you're
don't come down here anymore.
Don't come down.
It's a great
here.
place, but don't you dare come here. No, I'm the same way. I'm a refugee from communism. I came from California after 35 years, so I get it. But it's true though. I mean, like Luke, the Eastern Europeans, the Russians, all the former USSR bloc, like all the people that migrate here, which, by the way, massive Russian population in this area. But then also the Cubans. It's like this is the refugee against communism camp. Like that's what Southern Florida is.
Sunny Isles is the Russian mob capital of America.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I mean,
flat out, guys.
You will walk around and you will hear more people speaking Russian than English. It's amazing.
We got another super chat from Tim Crespi saying, if you want to discredit numerology, use stag gall. I have no idea what stag wall is.
I mean, when you can tell me why 6 of the richest 23 men in the world are born on the 28th, like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Carlos Salim, then we can start having a discussion. I don't care about that nonsense.
We got another one by I See No Evil saying, Luke, can you react to a YouTube video called Eyes for Sale by AZ? It's up your alley. Every young person acts like they are owned everything. I haven't seen that video, but I'll definitely check it out in the meantime. As of course, we are now finally reaching a moment where we get to have actual free speech, and we are going to be leaving the technocratic gulag that is YouTube, and finally opening up on some real
this
PJ-13
version of me is. Oof.
I know, me too. I don't like it either. But this is the kind of philosophy that a lot of people kind of implement. And I saw Tim implement this, and it makes sense. If you want to reach the normies, the Kyles and Karens, you kind of got to water down your message, because if you really kind of hammer down the larger kind of occult, the larger kind of deeper down the rabbit hole truth knowledge, you're going to freak a lot of people out, and they're going to be automatically saying, "No, this is crazy. This is utterly insane." You water the message down a little bit, which we are here with full transparency and full honesty here. You're able to kind of reel them in there and slowly bring them on this little journey of truth. And then once we go to Rumble, we beat them over the head with some really crazy stuff that they won't hear anywhere else in the world. Rumble's where it's at.
We're drinking some 5-proof vodka right now on YouTube.
Absolutely. Some ghetto-ass crap, some nasty.
We're going straight moonshine on Rumble, folks. 100 proof. Let's go.
So we're going to be moving over to Rumble. If you want to find us on Rumble, let's see where we are on the main page. Our main site is rumble.com/wearechange, rumble.com/wearechange, as we have a big crowd there now. Let's get more people. You're on YouTube. Vote with your attention. Vote with your clicks. It matters more than ever. We're going to be ending this broadcast here, going over to Rumble, being a part of the conversation by also signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com means a lot to us. And of course, we look forward to your calls. We look forward to you guys getting involved that way. Gary, before we move over to Rumble, where can people find you for the YouTube audience out there before we leave?
YouTube audience is GG33 Academy. Don't follow the fakes. A lot of people pretending to be me. It's got about 160,000 followers on Twitter. Find GG33 on IG. It's Matrix Prime _. And I'm sure I'm leaving out a lot, but that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Anywhere you can find me, just put in GG33. It's a big hashtag.
Yeah, you can find my show, Liberty Lockdown. Search it on RSS. It's on YouTube, Rumble, Liberty Lockdown. Clint Russell's the name. And while you're at it, just a quick reminder, the best political show, if you have a podcatcher, search that name, The Best Political Show. It'll come up. Subscribe. Check our show out. Steph.
Everybody can find me at Steph We Are Change or Steph WRC on Twitter.
We got another Rumble rant by Bob8008 saying, LFG, let's do this. Really appreciate you guys being here on YouTube again. YouTube is where we invested a lot of our time and energy into for a very long time. We were one of the first ever YouTube channels to be demonetized proudly. And YouTube is, of course, putting the squeeze on a lot of independent media content creators. YouTube is unleashing them, allowing them to speak honestly and freely. That is something worth considering. That is something worth a click. Do it right now.